We are joined from San Francisco by Bloomberg Best ISI Group's Brian Marshall, who has a buy recommendation on Apple. And Brian, give me your take. What do you think the chances are we'll see an Apple TV this year?
Thanks, Betty. I think it's pretty high. I mean, if you look at it, Apple's been on a 3-year revolutionary product cycle. 2004, we had the volume ramp of the iPod. 2007, 3 years later, the iPhone. 2010, 3 years later, the iPad. We think 2013 will really be the ramp of the Apple TV, the ITV. So I think that's going to be something that we'll probably see introduced late calendar 12, early 2013.
How significant do you think this will be vis-a-vis the other product launches you just mentioned?
I think it will. I think it will be a big launch, but I don't think it will be as significant as the iPad launch or the iPhone launch, because if you look at it, the profitability dynamics are much different on a TV than, say, a handset or a tablet that you get almost 100% resale of your flash. So I think from a profitability standpoint, not as important, but truly a very large event from a product standpoint.
Right. It's an interesting point because televisions is becoming lower and lower margin business, right, for these television makers. So why would Apple, why would Apple choose that to be the next frontier for them? I mean, what's your best guess?
Well, Apple, obviously, it's the largest market cap and as well as revenue company in tech, $150 billion in revenue this year. So what they need, obviously, to continue that growth going forward is large markets and penetrate them. They obviously have 5% of the PC space, about 5% of the handset space, so they need to have other avenues of growth. Other potential avenues are TVs, automobile, entertainment systems, things like that. So talking about tens, if not hundreds of millions of units of total available market opportunities for them.
Brian, it's Cris right across the street from you, actually, here in San Francisco. Quick question. We know that Apple has so much cash on its balance sheet. There's a lot of talk about a dividend. What are the chances that they might actually use that towards an acquisition towards a company that might provide all these parts for the Apple TV? Is there any talk about that? I know you talk to suppliers sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's a possibility, but I wouldn't expect it to be anything material. I think we're probably talking about $500 million to $1 billion in terms of buying suppliers and vertically integrating them throughout the Apple supply chain. I would not expect a multi-billion-dollar deal to be announced by Apple anytime soon. It's just not in their knitting or their DNA. I think they're going to stick with what works, and that smaller acquisition of technology has worked well for them in the past.
Okay. All right, Brian, we'll leave it there. Thank you. Great to see you, Brian Marshall of ISI.